I got a chance to get some hands-on with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and today I'll be giving you my first impression based off of this early preview build of the game. I'm primarily a keyboard and mouse player, but for this session, we had the option of using either an Xbox or PlayStation controller. I chose the PlayStation as I'm way more accustomed to it. I was told that keyboard and mouse controls would be available at launch, it just wasn't available for this specifically. My views on this are from a more casual player trying the series, isolated from exposure to the series overall. I played some of Assassin's Creed games throughout the years, like Assassin's Creed 1, Black Flag, and Origins, but I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of this series necessarily. Assassin's Creed Shadows, however, caught my interest due to the setting and time it takes place in, that being feudal Japan, along with the fact that you can play as either Yasuke or Naoe. This game, I believe, is a win that Ubisoft desperately needs in order to stay afloat, considering some of the bad investments they've already made with other games such as Skull and Bones, X-Defiant, and even, get this, an NFT game called Champion Tactics Grimoire Chronicles. Yeah, an NFT game in 2024. But that's besides the point. While I understand people may not be happy to hear about the multiple delays this game has already had, this could honestly make or break them. I think it's part of the reason why they're trying to get things right, but this is just speculation on my part. People do love to dogpile on Ubisoft, but let's remember, at the end of the day, it's hardworking people who make up these companies, and I would still like to see them succeed. Developers are, at the end of the day, people who have families and bills to pay. Now, before I get into the gameplay and all that, don't worry about any of the story stuff, as I want to avoid spoiling the story for those of you who are looking to dive into it yourself at launch. But from what I experienced, I will say it's a lot better written than what we saw with Star Wars Outlaw. The dialogue didn't feel cheesy, as it had a much more serious tone, and I was surprised by some of the things that popped up during my playthrough. Now, the footage you see will be of my actual gameplay in the background from the remote play session that was captured in 1080p. Along that, I may use some B-roll Ubisoft provided. Remember, this is a work in progress build, so what you may see may not be in the final version of the game that is set to release on March 20th, assuming there aren't any further delays. While I can't show certain things as to not spoil the game, I hope this paints a better picture for you to decide whether or not you want to pick up this game and play it. One thing that stood out to me during my play session was how in this game you will have choices that affect your gameplay based on the options you pick, but I'll avoid going into further detail as to avoid spoiling the story aspects of the game. Now, do you guys remember the screenshot that went around about the UI if Ubisoft made Elden Ring? I'm sure the developer team and all have to have seen it. It looks like Ubisoft is trying to do away with their cluttered UI as they've been known for. We've seen this in more recent titles like Star Wars Outlaw, and it will continue this trend in Assassin's Creed Shadow, making discovering the map in a more organic way versus it feeling like a literal checklist of going to a question mark to that one and so on to clear an area. The ability to just simply explore. Mark areas of interest you want to discover and gather information. Synchronization in Shadows no longer uncovers a bunch of map icons in an area. Instead, it will now review nearby points of interest, and then it's up to you to manually tag those areas and add them to the compass to discover. To me, this is a much welcome change in my opinion, but how do you guys feel about this? I'll also include the latest blog post, which will be linked below in the description for those curious on the further details about the changes. As you explore, there will be safe houses called kakurega, sometimes can be found in dangerous enemy areas. These act as fast travel points, and other useful things you can do there, like refill your healing items, which are called rations in this game, restock on ammo, access your gear, manage and accept contracts, and among other things. In Shadows, depending on which character you're playing as at the time, you can customize their weapons and loadouts. You're able to carry 2 different weapons at a time and can switch them to a different weapon when you'd like in the menu. Along that, your horse, helmet, armor, throwables, and consumables. There will be also several difficulty options to choose from for Shadows. Much like Assassin's Creed Origins, where it was the first game in the series to introduce difficulty settings, these were added to cater to a wider audience, allowing players who are more interested in a narrative or historical context to enjoy an easier gameplay experience, while those like myself seeking a challenge can select a harder setting. Now, I didn't get a chance to fully dive into this since I was advised to focus on the story objective with the amount of time I had to play the game, but from what I can tell, you do level up in this game and enemies you face will have a diamond with a number in it above their head, indicating their level. Depending on what area you're in, enemies can be below, at, or above your level if you wander to an area where the enemy levels are much higher. In addition to this, there will be mastery for the weapons you use. You can unlock new skills by gaining knowledge points and various activities that reward KP for the 6 different weapon types, at least for Yasuke. I imagine the same would be for Naoe too, but I don't have footage of her mastery tab to show off. Best of all, you can reset this to try out different skills if you're not happy with the ones you've unlocked to find the weapons and skills that suit you. So during my playthrough, I played this on normal difficulty, and I'm not going to lie, even at times I was getting my ass handed to me. But I think this is something you will figure out as you play, learning from your mistakes, from making sure you restock or explore to have enough rations before going into a fight, or picking the right character between Naoe or Yasuke for the scenario, as either one can result in whether or not it will play to their strength or weaknesses. The combat in this game feels heavy and impactful, especially when you play as Yasuke. He's able to tank more hits, go toe-to-toe with enemies, and bust down doors. Meanwhile, he's not so agile and slow when it comes to trying to have him jump across a rooftop or climb on top of a building. With Naoe, she is super fast but also very squishy, so with her you want to play to her strength, which is her stealth, to get around and avoid combat as much as possible. I made the mistake of having her try to go toe-to-toe with a samurai, and you could have guessed it, it did not end well. With scenarios like that, I quickly learned either go for assassinations in which you sneak up behind an enemy for a back shot, or avoid them as a whole while playing as Naoe. Naoe also has her grappling hook, which helps you traverse the world but can also be used as a weapon too. Both of these characters have very distinct playstyles and both come with their strengths and weaknesses. I can appreciate this since neither is well rounded and comes with their own set of challenges when picking whichever one to play as. The combat itself reminded me a bit of Souls-like games in the sense of being able to parry or deflect attacks. Doing so enough times will break an enemy's posture, leaving them vulnerable for a fatal blow. This will be essential to avoid taking damage, along with dodging at the right time and wanting to isolate and fight enemies one-on-one versus dealing with all the enemies head-on, which will always result in a quick death. Even playing on normal, these enemies can hit you pretty hard if you're not careful, so playing this on the hardest difficulty if you want a more Souls-like experience in an Assassin's Creed game. Another thing in Shadows is the wanted system. There are different ways you can end up getting marked with the wanted status, from killing innocent civilians among other things. This will result in increasing the difficulty and tension based on your behavior. Like being discovered in a castle triggers a province-wide alert that comes with several consequences. Challenging guardian enemies are now in the game world, and a high alert state will last the entire season. This will force you to adapt your playstyle during this game state or wait for the season to change for it to reset. With the way that this wanted system is introduced in this game, it definitely adds a layer of strategic depth to the game, encouraging you to be more cautious and plan your actions carefully. It also enhances the game's immersion by creating realistic consequences for being detected in restricted areas that you shouldn't be in. Now, for other features that I wanted to highlight, you'll be glad to know that while you're out and about exploring, you'll come across different animals that you can pet to your heart's content. A new light and shadow systems allow you to hide in the shadow and create darkness by destroying light sources, similar to what I think of like in Splinter Cell by shooting out light bulbs and such. You can now crawl in a prone position, enabling lower profile movement and access to small openings. The game will progress through the seasons, affecting gameplay with features like the frozen water in the winter and long grass in the spring. Missions are non-linear, which encourages exploration and however it is that you want to eliminate the target. In Shadows, the objective board is back, similar to one seen in Mirage, which is a visual quest log that expands to show new targets and objectives as more character and challenges are encountered. It provides clues pointing to the location of new opportunities, which player must piece together for more specific direction, unless you choose to use your scout to do the hard work for you. After getting a chance to get hands-on with this game, I'm honestly even more excited when this game drops to play it. My demos let me know that I only had 5 minutes left at the time while I was racing to get to an area without spoiling. My heart was racing to reach the conclusion of the part I was in. Thankfully, I was able to get there and complete it just in the nick of time. I thoroughly enjoyed my time on the demo, and those 4 hours honestly flew by. From the prologue to the finale of what they let us experience, I think the combat feels good, the parry feels satisfying, and a good array of weapons to mix it up if you ever get bored of a weapon, along with another character to choose from. Given how Naoe and Yasuke play very differently from one another, along with the choices and impact they have on the story when you pick either one to go on a mission. Because of that, this game has a lot of replayability that makes it worth playing through again, switching off from the ones that you picked from before. If you made it to the end of this video, feel free to let me know what are you looking forward to the most in the comment section. And for more gaming impressions, reviews, and everything else, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and take care.